Good evening, tubers. Matt and Roy back once again. Well. Happy Easter to everybody. Hope everybody's doing well out there, having some fun. Hope you guys and gals out there enjoyed that little Easter live stream I did from church today. But a lot of people are asking themselves, Matt, how in the world were you allowed to go to church when everybody is self-quarantining now? No groups larger than 5 or 6 people in one place. Well, I'll tell you, we actually had what they call a drive-in service. And in my state of Virginia, that is allowed. So basically, the way it works, we went to church. It was at 11 instead of 10. I'm not sure why they moved it up an hour. Our church service usually starts at, 10:30, so technically moved it up a half an hour. But we drove in. They would hand us a packet, staying far enough apart. They had like one of those little grabbers that you could just kind of grab it with. I don't know, what do you call those things? Like old people use to pick up things that fall behind the couch. And they handed us a pack. It was actually in a Ziploc bag, and it had a bulletin, or, basically the version of the bulletin that they're using now, and a song sheet. So we pulled on the grassy area, and it was actually the opposite of the way we'd normally park. And right on top of where there's a mobile unit where some of the Sunday school classes actually have their classes, the pastor stood up there with his pulpit, and in front of the pulpit there was a thing that said 94.3. So what we actually did is we tuned in to FM radio 94.3, and we actually were able to listen to the service and observe the social distancing. We all stayed in our cars. You were allowed to roll down the windows if you wanted to, and we did, because it was actually kind of hot. I wanted to say it was like 68 degrees. But we had a 1-hour church service, cut a little short. Again, usually our church services are about an hour and a half, 2 hours. But it was very nice. I didn't think this year we were actually going to get an Easter service, but they decided that they would give this a try and complied with all of the laws and regulations, and it was awesome. I'll tell you, one of the best Easter services I can remember in a really long time. Trying to get the best lighting here possible. I'm actually using, if those of you haven't noticed, I'm not using my Dell XPS 8700, which is back there. This is actually my data backup rig. And the reason I'm using this is because it just seems to work better. It has better lighting here, and this older webcam just seems to do a better job. Let me see if this will actually illuminate things a little bit better. If I kind of go like that. It blinds me a little, though. Now, I think we'll stick with the light up here. So how's everybody doing this fine Sunday evening? I ate a little too much today, so I will be fasting, doing a liquid fast again 2 or 3 days this week. I'm going to see how much I can handle it. Not going to commit to any specific amounts of days, but you can see right up there I have my protein shakes. So starting tomorrow morning, it's protein shakes, coffee, and juice, pretty much anything liquid I can put in my body. Solid food is going to be out for about 2 to 3 days. We'll see how long I can handle that, because when I did it last week, I was okay. I had enough energy for the day, but there was a problem I didn't anticipate, and that is my digestive system had started to shut down a little bit, because I didn't have any solid foods. There was nothing for it to process. So when I started eating solid foods again, what was coming out, not to be too gross, was really hard. So I wound up getting the dreaded H word. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's hemorrhoids. So needless to say, I have to be very careful doing it this week. I need to make sure I drink plenty of water and that I don't strain too hard. Well, I wonder if the chat's working. I know I enabled it, but nobody's put a comment down or anything. Let me know who's here, who wants to be the first one to put a comment down in the live chat. Make sure that's actually working this time. It should be working unless YouTube's on the blink again. It wouldn't surprise me either because there's so many people streaming, so many people not only watching live streams but doing live streams right now. Oh, I think the AC turned on. George Blakely's here. Hey, George, nice to see you. So the chat is working. I honestly don't have a heck of a lot to talk about. I wish I did. With everything being shut down, there just isn't that much going on. And if you guys have wondered where I've been, why I haven't been live streaming, that's pretty much it. I just have not had a lot to talk about. I mean, I'm not getting any new product in. I'm not going to thrift stores. I'm not, working on anything right now. So it's just like I'd rather put no content out than bad content out. By the way, if you look behind me, I'm watching Kid Behind the Camera's latest video, the old Angry Grandpa show. It's not something I watch all the time, but if I need a good laugh, I love watching him. Where they call him Pickle Boy, he's good. He's really funny at times. Danny K, hey Matt, I'm glad to see your live stream is this morning, and it was really nice. I enjoyed it. Well, thank you. I got blessed this morning too. I really did. I didn't think that we were going to have an Easter service, but I'm glad that we did. I would have done the whole service. However, I didn't have my charger with me because we didn't have my car. And live streaming just drains my cell phone battery down too much. So I figured give you guys a little snippet, let you guys know I'm doing okay. Hopefully that little bit of a song or that song was enough to kind of put you in the Easter mood. By the way, we had a great meal. Mom outdid herself tonight. She cooked a chicken that I had bought probably about a week ago and froze, all natural. We had mashed potatoes and gravy. We had fresh stuffing that she makes, not the crappy stovetop stuffing, the real stuffing like that she makes from scratch, and cranberry sauce, which I didn't really have any cranberry sauce, but I pigged out, folks. That's why I need to do this liquid fast. I'm sure I put on a few pounds today, but it was so good. I had to do it. Yanks One Fan 09. Happy Easter to you and your family. Thank you. Really appreciate that. It is really windy out here right now. If you can hear that in the background, the pressures from me having the window open causes the door to go in and out, and it'll drive you crazy if you let it. Eric says hello. Oh, man, that sounds good. What sounds good? How's the kitties? They're good. They're locked out right now because if they were in here, they'd be up and down in that window. And because the mosquitoes and the bugs are out right now, Milo especially will go up and they'll scratch at the screen. And since we just put new screens in, I don't want to have to do it again. So when the window's open, we either have to be constantly watching them or we have to shut them out of the room. It's one or the other. It's got 6 people and 3 likes. Nice. I appreciate you guys coming. And if I'm keeping you from anything, if you're supposed to be spending time with your family, that's cool. You can leave. I'm not taking, I'm not doing roll call or anything like that. Your cats do the same thing. Yeah, I'm sure. That's a predator thing. They want everything and they want it to ingest. Oh, I'm burning this candle here. If you guys were curious, that's a Yankee candle. This one's Beach Walk. It's actually a really good smelling candle. You know what's funny? One thing I noticed with Yankee candles, they have good smells, but they rarely ever smell like what they're supposed to. Like Beach Walk, to me, that's supposed to smell like what? Salty sea air, maybe suntan lotion. smells like lavender to me. It's weird. I'm not necessarily saying anything bad against Yankee candles. They always smell good, but to me, they never smell like what they say they are on the package. Yeah, tuna casserole. Well, it's not my cup of tea, but I don't think I've ever had tuna casserole before. Marty Hall, I'm doing just fine. I don't know if I've ever seen you at one of these before. I could be wrong. I'm burning 2 candles right now. Yeah, they're really good for sleeping. Fun fact, if you're having trouble sleeping at night, burn a lavender candle. Lavender is a aromatherapy candle that calms you down. Like you guys, for the most part now, know I'm an insomniac a lot of times. There are a bunch of nights during the year, especially when allergy season's out, like right now, when I just can't sleep, and burning that candle helps me go to sleep. And I hate to do it because it is kind of dangerous to do overnight, but I do it as safely as possible. I make sure nothing's in the way, nothing can fall on it. Alternatively, you can get stuff like diffusers. Diffusers work well too. The excrement better be over by June 13th or 14th, Eric says. I hope so. And I haven't even told this to Eric, so I guess I'll tell him now. I was planning on going up to visit him this coming week. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. The main reason is I just don't want to travel during all of this, because a lot of states now are issuing decrees that if you don't have to absolutely travel, and they catch you doing it and you're not out for a good reason, then they can jail you. And technically I'd be going up there for business, but I don't want to have to prove that. And they want you to be able to prove that you're up there solely for business reasons. Don't burn candles while you're asleep. I'll try not to. I'll tell you I'm not going to burn it while I'm asleep. How about that? I never knew you were a firefighter. That's really cool. Favorite? Oh, this is the Genius. What is that? Genius Battle DG or DFG. Favorite Metroid Zelda game in the series? Oh, definitely the original Zelda for sure, for the NES. Absolutely. And I'd have to go with the original on both of those. Original Metroid, original Zelda. Metroid Prime, it was okay. I got about halfway through it. But the original Zelda, man, I could spend hours and hours and hours playing that game. I may have to put my bike away in a few minutes. It looks like we might actually get some rain tonight. Be kind of a shame. I was hoping to get out again, and that's something that during all of this craziness is the one glimmer of light through all this craziness is I've actually been able to get my workouts in. Like I figured there's nothing better to do. And it seems like everybody else is doing the same thing. If you go around the neighborhood, I kid you not, that people are out almost all day long now. And it's bizarre because in this era of social media, video games, online, everything, when everything is good before all this craziness started, on a nice day like this, it would be a ghost town outside. You might see one kid on a bike if you're lucky. But now that everybody's stuck inside, they have to do all the social distancing, they all seem to be coming out. And there's a good and a bad side to this. The good side is they're going out and getting exercise, because judging by the look of some of the kids in our neighborhood, they need it because they look like I did when I was their age. But the bad side of this is these kids are not really practicing social distancing. Like when I'm riding my bike around, I'm seeing groups of kids together and they are way closer than 6 feet apart. They're congregating like there's nothing wrong. And I get it. Kids are probably not going to understand what social distancing is. Even if you tell them, they're probably not going to listen. But in my opinion, as the parents, they need to make sure that these kids are safe and practicing social distancing. And as we've learned, This is a situation that doesn't discriminate age-wise. We thought it did. Originally, we thought that it was only seniors that got it. But now we're learning, or at least got it and had really bad side effects from it, like death. But now we're learning it's affecting all age ranges. So please, I implore you, if you are parents and you have kids out there, I don't care what age, make sure they are practicing social distancing for the time being anyway. Have you sold any of your bikes? Yes, I recently sold which one did I sell? Oh, the Mongoose, the one that I got when I was upstate. Only got $80 for it, and that's pretty much what I paid for it, but I was happy that it moved on to somebody that could use it. The reason I sold it was just too small for me. I'm 6'2", and literally I'd have to have the seat up so far that it was moving around, like it wasn't in the bar properly. The next one I'm going to have to sell is the Cannondale for the same reason. It's a 26-inch frame. I'm a big guy. I really need like a 27 or a 29-inch bike. And that one's hard for me because I really love that Cannondale. That is the highest end bike I own, and it's really fun to ride. So we'll see what happens. I may try to hold on to it and just lower the seat a little bit and ride it when I can. Interesting story. Windsor Castle State Park, or Windsor Castle Park in Smithfield, Virginia, has a mountain bike trail. And I took the Cannondale there one day because that's the only bike I have that could handle rough terrain like that. And that's when I found out that it really wasn't built for me, because I was going up and down the big hills there. And because I was sitting up so high, I was so top heavy that when I was going down the hill, going up the hill was fine. I was absolutely fine up the hill. But when I was going down the hill, I felt like I was going to go over my handlebars because my center of gravity was just too high. Happy Easter, Mark. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Those are always appreciated. Yeah, and I agree, Danny. Cannondale bikes are awesome, and I think what I'm going to try to do, if funds allow, once all this craziness is over, I'm going to look for a larger framed Cannondale, something like it. I know they make a 27-inch, and I know they make a 29-inch. I don't think there's anything such as like a 28-inch. I could be wrong. But we're talking about the size of the frame, not specifically talking about the tire size, because that's different. But I'm talking about the actual size of the frame of the bike is too small. Danny K, I just picked up a Trek road bike from Craigslist. I've heard of Treks. Treks are really nice bikes too. Now, Treks, if I remember correctly, are designed literally more for roads. They're thin-tired bikes, so that's like the opposite of a mountain bike. That's not something you would be riding off-road. Oh, man. By the way, I don't mean to arbitrarily change gears, but I hope everybody went to Dollar Tree and tried to get some hand sanitizer. I put that video up a few days ago that our Dollar Tree got some hand sanitizer in. And from what I understood, they were all going to get them in. So hopefully some of you heeded that warning and got some of their hand sanitizer. I just used it now, and it's like an essence of grapefruit or something, but it's good. I mean, heck, for $1, you can't beat it. I mean, if you go online, if you're able to find any bottles of hand sanitizer, they're fetching like $20 to $30 a bottle. I'm not talking about a case. I'm talking about a bottle, which is ridiculous. Oh, the family's doing really well, Mark. Mom cooked up that big Easter meal. She's resting in the other room. Dad's downstairs. Actually set up the projector in the living room so we could watch movies. And I actually hooked up one of these desktops down there so we could watch YouTube, Netflix, Hulu, things like that. Danny K, oh, you said you couldn't get any? I'm not surprised, but I was hopeful that maybe some of the stores would have gotten them in. But they could be wrong. I've had associates tell me that in the past, that, oh yeah, all the stores going to be getting them in, and it wasn't true. So it happens. How did she cook the chicken? Crock pot. We always use a crock pot. And what we usually do, put the chicken in, usually early in the morning, we let it slow cook all day. And we'll pour in some chicken broth, just kind of give it a little bit more moisture. And then Mom seasons it on top. Salt, pepper, garlic. And we like a little bit of Italian seasoning and parsley on top. And I want to say that's all she puts on top of it. Keep the skin on. And you cook it in the crock pot, usually for about 6 to 8 hours. I say this: 8 hours on low, 4 hours on high. Either way, it works fine, and it just falls apart, and it tastes so good. And then if you want gravy, like we actually had gravy tonight, then what you do, that was really cool. You save the juices from the crock pot that the chicken created, and you put it through a colander to get out any bones and gristle and things like that. And then you put it on the stove. You add cornstarch, gravy master, and I usually put in a little bit more salt and pepper, and then also some minced garlic. And you whisk it, and it turns into the gravy. So we actually were able to have gravy, and then Mom made mashed potatoes, stuffing, and that was about it. But that was really, really good. Harold K., I want to go to the store, but my town just had what is it, bubble of cases to healthcare workers at one of the 3 general health centers in my town. Yeah, you got to be very careful. Our local Walmart is only letting a certain amount of people in at one time. I think it's like 50 people or something like that. So they have the carts set up outside, and kind of like they do during Black Friday, or they did years ago, and everybody's wearing masks. I tell you, it's bizarre. I never thought I was going to see this in my lifetime. This is just, it is scary, I'll be honest with you, but I'm not letting it get to me, or at least I'm trying not to let it get to me, but it's hard. I mean, it really, really is. Okay, so plans for the future when all this craziness is over, and maybe even before. I have a chance to get another pallet of computers from the same place that I got these ones last time. If you don't know the ones I'm talking about, it's these over here, these Dell Optiplex systems. I think I got like 10 of them sitting over there right now. They've been selling very well. As a matter of fact, I've probably sold about half of the ones I got in the pallet last time. The only problem is I'm not sure that I want to pull the trigger on it right now, because this new pallet, the one I got last time was 42 towers. This one's like 50 towers, and the price is higher. And I don't want to get to a point where I have all this inventory. I'm leveraged because I don't have the cash to pay for these. I actually have to charge these when I get them. And then as I sell them, I pay off the credit card. So I pretty much just finished paying these off. So I want to do that, and I'd like to bring you guys along with me this time. I'm hoping that they'll be okay with me filming. I did the first time, but not the last time. This will be the third time that I bought product from this particular e-recycling company, and I have to say it's been hit and miss. The first time I bought the pallet from them, spot on. Every computer except for maybe 2 or 3 were working. They were perfectly fine, and that's good. I mean, that wound up being about 10% bad, and that's what I fully expected. However, this last time, this last batch of computers I got, all of the towers so far have been good, but I had about 50% of the hard drives they included were bad. They tested just plain bad, which surprised me, because this particular company actually formats and tests these supposedly before they put them in the computers. They sell all these computers the same way: 4 gigabytes of RAM and a 500 gigabyte Seagate hard drive. Now you guys know why the hard drives were probably going bad. But I have to say, the person that handles the side of it is really, really good. She knows her stuff. And the second reason I like buying them from there, it's for charity. All the money goes to charity. And number three, it's fairly close to where I am. I don't have to pay shipping. And if you have to pay shipping, then it's not even worth it, because to have, well, let's say 40 towers shipped. I'll give you guys a good example. I'm going to open up the calculator here. I know that each one of these computers weighs about 30 pounds. And 25 pounds. So if you look that up, on average, that would cost you about $30 to $35 to ship it out. Now, granted, when you ship freight, you get about a 50% discount there. So we're going to say, on average, it would cost me $15 per unit to have it shipped. So we're going to do 15 times 48. That's $720. So if I had to have those towers shipped, it would cost me an extra $720 to make that deal. And at the end of the day, that's almost 4 more towers I would have to sell before I would be into profit. So I'm going to do the same thing that Franchise Kicks, if you watch his channel, tells you. Try to buy locally, or as locally as you possibly can, and pick it up yourself, because if you don't, you're going to wind up spending your profits away. Mark asks, when do you think you'll be maybe selling laptops again? That's a good question. And do you know that I have 2 people in the queue that want laptops? The next 2 laptops I get in are spoken for right now. I actually need to work on that. I'm glad you mentioned that, Mark, because I'm going to be this coming week trying to get a couple of laptops in, because I have a couple of clients that need them very badly. Derek Gerber says, Happy Easter. Harold K, have you ever looked in selling through Amazon? I think they handle shipping for you if you can get into their program. I bought 2 towers on there with Prime free shipping. I actually haven't. I've in the past been busy enough to where I didn't have to worry about doing like eBay or Amazon, but it's a good point, because it is getting slow enough now that I may have to do something like that. I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm going to have to look into that. Danny K, have you ever tried Cavender's all-purpose Greek seasoning? I have not. The all-purpose seasonings this all-purpose seasoning that I use is called Spike Gourmet Seasoning, and you can find them in any health food store. The reason I use it is about as natural as you can get without drying the vegetables yourself in the dehydrator and grinding it up yourself. The one I use is the vegetable blend. It's in the blue package, and they do add salt. You can get ones without salt, but I get the ones with salt because I like it. And it's a blend of 42 different spices. That's just the one that I prefer. There's a lot of them out there. There's Mrs. Dash seasoning. There's a lot of different ones out there, but I like the Spike because it's a healthy option. And it's just the one I think tastes really good. You can get that one, the vegetable one, which I use a lot. There's also the one that's the original Spike seasoning. That's in the red package. And forgive me, I don't remember what exactly is in that. But you just get the one that works best for you. And I've used it now for probably 5 to 10 years, and I love it. I love the taste, and I love the fact that it's all natural. Yes, I saw Payne Anonymous talking about ADATA SSDs. I've been using them for the most part in all my computers. They're awesome. Carrie Holzman actually uses them quite a bit in his builds. And the cool thing is, if you go on eBay, you can buy them directly from the manufacturer. And from what I understand, they're actually made here in the US, or at least put together here in the US. I'm sure the parts are made in China, but they're at least put together here in the US. Eric goes, I checked a website called Freight Quote. Yeah, it's about $340 to $470 depending on the carrier. A lot of money to make up. It really is. I may have been a little I may be a little high with my quote there. That was just some rough figures. But yeah, you always want to try to buy your product locally if at all possible. And my profit margins are way worse than somebody like Franchise Kicks. Franchise Kicks has like a profit margin a lot of times something ridiculous like 60-70% or higher. I'm lucky to double my money, so what, 50%, 40% after everything's paid for. Yeah, I like that too. I like to buy, especially now knowing what China did to us. I like buying US. Now, granted, everything in one way or another, for the most part, the parts are coming from there. I mean, we're just beholden to China now because for so many years we've outsourced our manufacturing to them. And that's a big thing that we're trying to reverse now. We are trying as a society, especially after this. I mean, this is going to be huge. That what's happened now is going to change the course of history. Mark my words. This is going to be a game changer because knowing what China did with this current situation, I can almost guarantee you we're going to start passing bills that are going to force companies to move their production from China back to the United States. I'm going to tell you right now, I will be happy to pay a premium if I know the products are made here in the US because I don't want to give China another red cent, honestly. And it's a shame because the people, for the most part, are really good there, but the government is so corrupt that you can't trust anything that they do. I mean, look at what they've done to us. I'm not just talking about this country. I'm talking about the world. And I'm not going to say I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it because it just freaks too many people out. But everybody here knows what I'm talking about right now. Yeah, Eric, I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm gonna look into that. Eric is started up I guess we'll call it a side business. I guess would be the word. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but basically he does small engine repair and sales. So I guess mowers, weed whackers, like yard equipment, and apparently it's pretty lucrative. Now I can do it. I'm just not an expert in it. As a matter of fact, I have a hard enough time keeping my fleet of 3 automobiles on the road. The next thing I have to do, and yeah, this is going to be interesting, I have to do a differential fluid replacement, front differential fluid replacement on my 2005 GMC Yukon Denali XL. I don't know when it was done last. I know it has been done because the metal inspection shield is missing. So at some point, somebody serviced that differential and just never put that shield back on. But that being said, I want to get it done. And it's not hard to do. I looked it up on YouTube. You have the drain plug on top, drain plug on the bottom. It's actually the drain plug's like on the top left. I'm sorry, the fill plug's on the top left, the drain plug's on the bottom right. So basically, you open up the fill plug first, and then you open up the drain plug. You drain out all the old gear oil, and then what you have to do is you have to pump in the new gear oil from the top. And they say the best way to do it is to pump a little bit in while you have the drain plug out and let it filter through, and some of the new oil seep out into the pan. And then once it starts coming out clear, because a lot of times these people wait till 150,000 miles to do it. And then once it starts coming out clear, then you put the drain plug back in, and then you fill up the fill plug until it starts leaking out. And they say that's about it. So it shouldn't be too bad. I've never done one, but it doesn't sound too much harder than changing your own oil. Oh man, I salute your optimism, Eric. I hope it works out, buddy, because it's great. I mean, there's a lot of frustration sometimes being self-employed, but it's better than working for the man. Working for the man is the hardest thing you can do. I'm telling you, it is. I've done it, and it's not fun. Samuel Heron, how do you think Trump is handling the crisis? You guys know I don't usually like to get political on here, but in this case, he's done a good job. Has he done a perfect job? I don't know if I'd go that far. The latest news I've heard is they were a little late in shutting down the borders, but where I heard that was from the regular liberal media. So I don't necessarily know if I believe that, because I listen to all media outlets. We're talking about Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, not necessarily in that order. Don't extrapolate anything from that order. But if I had to give like a rating on how I think the Trump administration's handled this situation, I'd say a B. I'd probably give him a B. Sam Heron, I watch ABC from New Zealand. Wow, I didn't know you guys actually got ABC out there. And I wonder how many of you guys think, well, that's a good question. If you feel like chiming in here, let me know how you think that that our administration's handling the situation. That door is driving me crazy. Well, we're going to have to live with it. I don't feel like getting up right now. Oh, I don't know if Cassette Master's here or not, but I just saw this. How many of you remember these good old Sony Handycams? This particular one is a DCR TRV 260. You want to see how long it's been since I've used this? You ready? Hold on. See the dust? Yeah. I don't even know if this thing still has battery life. Now, battery's stone dead. Everybody keeps asking me, well, I say a lot of people asking me, Matt, how come you don't use these anymore? Well, the main reason is it's a big pain to upload the video, because this uses 8mm tape, even though it is technically digital. I have to play it through Windows Media Player, so I have to play it in live to be able to upload it, and it just takes too much time. And the only way to transfer the video over, check that out, folks. You see that right there? That's right, FireWire. This has a USB port, just like the DCR TRV 280, but that's only for transporting snapshots, pictures. The only way to transfer video is through FireWire, and with the latest update of Windows, FireWire doesn't really work very well. So it's unfortunate, but I think I'm going to have to start selling off my classic collection. I have quite a few of these. I have 2 or 3 of the DCR TRV 280s, and I think I have 2 of these DCR TRV 260s. And oddly enough, my 260s work perfectly, but my 2 280s have problems. One, the built-in speaker doesn't work, and the other one has a intermittent faulty tape mechanism, to where when you try to play back the tape, it just errors out. Whoops. Oh boy, I'm knocking everything over. You guys and gals know I'm clumsy, so shouldn't shock anybody out there. 14 watchers. Please don't forget to click that like button if you're enjoying this content. And I'm an entertainer. I do this for entertainment value, at least these particular live streams, but it always helps me if you click that like button. Doesn't take long. Just take a minute and give me a thumbs up. That way I can get higher on YouTube search results, or their algorithm, I should say. I'm just looking at Eric's response to pain. Yeah, that's really good. I mean, if you can get your product for under $10 and then fetch like 70, that's not bad. We're supposed to end this around June 15th, but not before. Oh man, I hope that's not true. It wouldn't surprise me. I've heard the same thing myself. Thank you, Payne. Appreciate that. We're up to 7 likes. Hear the gulls? Hear the seagulls? Or no? Hang on a second. No, those were geese. I'm sorry, those were Canadian geese. They have a similar sound, but you know the geese because they'll go like honk, honk, honk. They're funny too. The Canadian geese in my area are so tame, especially in the parks, the state and city parks around here. They'll come right up to you. If you have food, they'll come up to you and they'll snatch it out of your hands. They got this one male goose there that's huge. I mean, this thing is probably about 3 feet tall, probably weighs about 30, 40 pounds, and it scares the crap out of me, but it's friendly. It really is. Give you guys a minute. I want to check my news feed here real quick on Facebook. Because I think somebody was trying to send me a message, but it was through Facebook. The internet is very slow now, by the way. So if you're not seeing me streaming in HD, that's why. There's just too many people using the internet at the moment. So, okay, Brandon Decker just gave a like. That's what it was. By the way, if you guys are trying to get a hold of me, especially during the live streams, make sure you do it through the live chat. Don't send me a Facebook message or something, because chances are I won't be able to answer it. That's a good point, Payne. I just looking at their conversation between him and Eric. It's the same thing with me and the computers. People working at home now have to have a computer, and that's how I'm selling a lot of these desktops is to people that are having to work at home, and their only option is to buy a computer, and they don't want to go out and buy a brand new system for $600, $700, $800. They'd rather come to me and buy a refurbished one. And what I'm doing right now, let me pull this up real quick. What I'm doing right now is I've actually streamlined this quite a bit. I made it easy. So what I have is all these computers are either i3s or i5s, and they all have SSDs, either 140 gig or 240 gigs. They all have at least the 500 gig conventional hard drive with 8 gigs of RAM. And I'm selling the i3s for 180 or the i5s for 220. So if anybody out there wants one of these towers, again, I'm not going to ship them, but if you're local to me, message me and we can work something out. It's not worth shipping because these things are just way too heavy, and I don't have any way to get boxes to ship them anyway. So what I'm doing, just to let you know, if any of you out there are wanting one of these computers, you can message me privately through Facebook, and because most of you guys are linked through on me through Messenger anyway. And if you're local, You'll have to come to me. What I'll do is I'll leave it out on the porch. You guys can take a look at it. I'll have it set up if you want. And then you leave me the money and take the computer. That's basically how I'm doing it right now. This is the only safe way to conduct business at the moment. They are really good systems. And I'll be honest, I'm actually surprised I haven't sold more of them, but I think people right now are just waiting on the stimulus check to come in. Oh, by the way, the first of the $1,200 stimulus checks started coming out, I think yesterday. Now, don't freak out if you haven't gotten them yet. It's going to take about a week or so for everybody to get it. But let me make sure I have this right. If you file the 2018 or 2019 tax return, and you make less than $75,000 a year, then you can expect a $1,200 direct deposit into your bank account, as long as you had a direct deposit set up for your tax return. If not, then they're going to send you a physical check, and that could take up to 6 months. So I believe you can go to the irs.gov site now and enter in your bank information, and that'll allow you to get that direct deposit. Hope everybody's done that already. I'm not a tax expert, but because this is kind of important, I've really been following this stuff pretty closely. Oh, are some of you guys losing the chat? Yeah, with everything that's going on, too many people using the internet, it's been sketchy. It really has. The criteria, from what I understand, again, remember, I'm not a tax expert here. To get the check, you have to have filed a 2018 or a 2019 tax return, and you have to make less than $75,000 a year. Those are the two criteria that I know of. And if you meet those two criteria, then you're supposed to be getting a $1,200 check, either deposited into your bank account via direct deposit, or a physical check mailed to you. But those physical checks are going to take a long time. It's interesting. Harold K. I recently got into some communities of people who write and read books, and I feel like there is a lack of religious influence in modern literature. I like how many classics used to be inspired by it. Yeah, I'm not a literary expert either. I like to read, but my reading is usually things like technical manuals. We're talking about like Windows media diagrams, things like that. But yes, if you go back, I mean, we're talking about, the 17th, 18th centuries, classic literature, Shakespearean literature, stuff like that had a lot of religious influence. That's not a good term. The modern day culture for many years has moved away from traditional religion. However, there is a renaissance coming, I can assure you, as things start to degrade. And, I truly believe we are living in the end times. Then I think you're going to see that renaissance, that rebirth of religious inspiration coming back into literature. Mark my words, it's coming. It really is. Ain't that the truth? Apparently, I heard the more kids you have, the more money you make. Well, that's the same thing, even when it comes to Social Security and things like that. But yes, I think it's $500 additional per child over the $1,200 that you're going to get as a stimulus. And it is a stimulus check, but it's acting like a tax refund. So the beauty part is the money you're going to get, you're not going to be taxed on. So this is money to do with whatever you want. It's to help people get through the hurdles of this situation. Yes, they do. If you do direct deposit, like if you did your taxes and you got your tax return via direct deposit, then yes, they do have your bank information. That's how it works. They send it to your checking or savings account, probably checking account in most people's cases. What do you get in USA if your employer can't pay your wages? Unemployment. That's why you pay into unemployment insurance. When you have a job here in the US, at least, and I think most countries are like this, you pay into Social Security and unemployment insurance. So if for some reason you're furloughed, and in the US, to get your unemployment, you have to be fired or furloughed. You can't quit. If you quit, then usually, most cases, you're not eligible for it. But you're paying into that system. And if something like this happens where they can't afford to pay you anymore, you get fired or furloughed, which is basically you're made redundant because they can't pay you for work anymore. Then you collect unemployment insurance. And the U.S. has actually extended that for this particular situation. I don't want to get into the specifics because, again, I'm not an expert in this field. I'm not a politician. I'm not a tax expert or anything like that. But I understand the basics of it, and that's pretty much how it works. Like I said, when you work, you have those deductions from your paycheck. They take out each week or 2 weeks, depending on how you get paid, and that's what you're basically getting back, and that's why you pay that. It's like part of your taxes, basically. Just pray that no one loses their job. I'm going to pray. I've been praying for this country ever since this whole thing started, but it's happening. My best friend from high school, unfortunately, just lost his job, and now he's trying to get work at Walmart, and that kind of frightens me because, yeah, that's about the only kind of work you can get now is in grocery stores and supermarkets, but now those people are coming down with the situation too. It's very scary times. And those of you out there that are religious, if you're Christian, I don't care what you have, please pray for the world. And I'm not even going to say the country. We need to be praying for the world right now. CFWW. This is good. I'm going to read this. Once again, the U.S. is giving away money they don't have, and the future generations will have to pay it off. Shame, shame. I got to tread real lightly here because I know I'm going to try to remain neutral, but he or she is absolutely right, by the way. It's going to be added on to the deficit. That's how this works. When the government gives money out like this for stimulus, they don't have money. The government does not have money. The money the government gets from us in taxes, that's the money that is coming back. Unfortunately, we're in trillions and trillions, 14, 15, we're in trillions of dollars of deficit. So they're right. The future generations will have to pay this back eventually. Now, that being said, I don't see a better alternative right now because people are hurting. Do you know that for the first time in, I think it was 20 years, the unemployment rate has doubled. I think it was it's up to 33% right now, and it's going to go up even higher than that. And these are the people that are filing for unemployment. Not only that, for the first time in years, pretty much since the Depression, people have not been able to pay their rent. The people out there that are renting houses, apartments, they're not able to pay it because they've been made furloughed because of the situation. So I guess my point here is I don't see a better alternative. I get that it's not a good idea. Believe me, in the long run, it's going to be terrible. In the long run, it's probably going to bankrupt the country maybe 20, 30 years down the road. But I see where the politicians are coming from. They don't have any other options right now because in and of effect, what they're doing is they're saying to people, you can't go to work. You can't go to your job. I mean, you have to stay at home. And yeah, there are white collar workers out there that can work from home. But then there are the blue collar workers out there that have jobs like in what's a good word? Like in farmers. My mind just went blank. Farmers. We're talking about people that work in mines. We're talking about people that work in the manufacturing industry. That if they can't go to work, then they're not getting paid. So I just don't see another option right now. If I'm missing something, please put it in the live chat. But our best politicians, our best administrators out there have not been able to find a better solution. Eric's right channel. People need to be self-sufficient again. In some states, if you go into Walmart, they have the garden section chained off saying it's not essential. Growing my food isn't essential. And then he uses the WTF. I do agree to a certain point. Being self-sufficient is one of the best things in the world. I mean, if you don't have to rely on the man for your life, that to me, that would be great. That being said, the average Joe six-pack out there, how many of you remember that phrase, is not going to be able to do that. Eric, believe me, I know you can. I can in a pinch too. But the average man or woman in the street just doesn't have those survival skills. We have been ingrained to trust in the system and rely on the government to an extent, and just to rely on the status quo for our lives. That you take these people that have worked a 9-to-5 job, gotten their health insurance from their job, gotten maybe subsidized housing from the government. You take all these people and you ask them all of a sudden to become self-sufficient. They're not going to be able to do it, folks. It just can't. It won't work in most people's cases. CFWW. It is true. It is true. The employers do pay in, and they actually do pay a good portion of the unemployment. But if you look closely at your check, part of your deductions, you are paying a little bit into that too. Next time you get a physical check, most people don't anymore. Take a look at it. Believe me, you're paying into it as well. We're going to end this here at an hour in too, folks, because my throat is very, very dry at the moment. I'm literally losing my voice now. Eric goes, I often see turkeys out front of my house in the morning. I can catch one, tie it to the tree, pull out an axe, and have dinner tonight. Yeah. I mean, I don't think we're in turkey season right now, but then again, I don't think the police officers would really bother you, especially with all the things now going on. They don't have enough resources to worry about the little petty things that people do. I see people jaywalking all the time, people not social distancing, and they're not even worried about that. They are so taxied right now. Law enforcement just dealing with people going stir crazy, domestic disputes, that they're not even able to handle the little things anymore. All right, folks, I'm ending it here. I have just about lost my voice. I really appreciate everybody coming. I think this was a great live stream. Hope everybody stays safe out there. Hopefully praying for better times in the very near future. Please continue to like and subscribe. I promise you the content is going to be getting much better once all this craziness is over. And as always, have a blessed day, everybody.